What's up, Zombie Talk 123? Carlos Zambrano, I made a video on retires. Of course, that was after the news that he decided not to retire, of course. This video is about him getting disqualified. When I say disqualified, he's on the disqualified list. Um, the Chicago Cubs, pretty much immediately after this happened, it's unacceptable to walk out on 24 guys on your team in the middle of a season and tell people you're retiring with $22 million left. There's something else there. And so Jim Henry and they talked to other Cubs officials, and they decided to put him on the disqualified list. Now, remember last June he was suspended from the team. Now he's on the disqualified list. Another case of a bad contract that Jim Henry signed along with Milton Bradley, Kosuke Fukudome, Alfonso Soriano. But the two rotten contracts were Milton Bradley and Carlos Zambrano. Why? Because they were just acid for the team. They would throw these temper tantrums and they would get pissed off over everything. The fans didn't like Milton Bradley after a while too. You know, always chanting him and all of that, taunting him. And so he was suspended last year, I would say. And then Carlos Zambrano was suspended last June. You may remember the incidents where he breaks his bat on his knee and he smashed a water cooler and all that, a Gatorade cooler, whatever it was. You know, and then he gets on this disqualified list. What that means is you are 30 days off the team without playing, no pay, no play, and no team activities. So he can't be around his team. After he retired, Brian Dempsey said the clubhouse feels better now. It's a good thing for the team to get him off for 30 days, get Casey Coleman in, a young, very talented prospect for the Cubs. Get him in, and get him some major league experience. He struggled earlier on. He had an injury. Time for him to get a few starts, 5 or 6 starts, hopefully. And hopefully that gives him some experience under his belt. And the Cubs have been really hot lately. Hopefully he can get some wins. If he got 2 or 3 wins there and had a decent ERA, I think Cubs fans should be pretty happy about that going into next season. They'll definitely have more time to work on everything over the offseason than spring training. And then, you know, I think the most important thing is obviously getting that first few months of major league experience, and it kind of takes the nerves off. And also being able to, you know the difference of major league batters facing good teams. Casey Coleman needs to go out there and have to face, maybe after the first start, facing a decent team. He needs to face teams that have been tested. He needs to face offensive teams. He needs to face the Philadelphia Phillies. He needs to face the Milwaukee Brewers. I think those are teams that, you know, as a baseball fan, I think as a Cub fan, you know, you're like, Milwaukee Brewers, Philadelphia Phillies. But it will be good for him to have to face really good offenses because it will make him even more successful when he faces teams like the Giants and stuff. Not saying that because you face harder teams, going to make it easier and easier teams, even though that makes total sense. Nothing meant to go bad for the Giants at all. I'm just saying, no offense to Giants or anything. I'm just saying that for him, I think it will be good for the first year if he faced tough teams. The Giants are a very tough team. They won the World Series last year, but their offense has obviously struggled this year. What I'm saying is that I think it's good for him to face harder teams. I think you get what I'm saying. It's better for him to face harder teams when he comes up. Get him that experience so next season he can have just a very good year overall. I think many can agree that Carlos Zambrano is going to be hard for them to unload his salary in a deal. I don't think any team wants his presence in the clubhouse either. But if a team feels like he can really make a difference, and the Cubs were... maybe I can see a few deals happening. I saw an article was written about possible Carlos Zambrano deals that maybe could happen. Like players that were involved, like relievers like Brandon Lyon, or maybe in Juan Uribe because of his contract. And I'm trying to think of other people I saw. Oh my God, I can't think of it now. Berzito, Aaron Rowan, and the Cubs on some deals would send a lot of money, and on other deals they'd get a lot of money depending on how bad the contract is. For some teams, they may believe just change the scenery, even though he said he wants to be a Cubs his whole life. Maybe change the scenery and maybe it'd motivate him if he's on a playoff run. He's always complaining about the Cubs playing like a AAA team. Maybe a playoff run would motivate him and hopefully get him back to his old pitching style, because, you know, if he was traded, if the Cubs were lucky enough to trade him, and get that salary out of there and get him out of the clubhouse and get a decent player in return, then number one, that's a good thing for the Cubs. But it might be a good thing for the team he's going to, because it's change of scenery again. If you love Chicago, you always talking about that. But maybe if he's in a playoff atmosphere, he would pitch better, which totally makes sense. Playing for a better team and all that. He basically needs to just get out of Chicago, but again, I can also see him spending last year there. Obviously, $18 million left on his contract next year. Unless he's traded, I fully expect him to be pitching next year. And as a baseball fan, I hope he has a better year next year. The Cubs obviously are not going to get $18 million worth of a starter, but at least hopefully he can improve and he can help this team a little bit. The main thing about this is he's not a team player. I mean, he's all about himself, and some may argue he's been a team player at times, but when someone walks out on 24 guys, I can see where he's going from. Very frustrated. Been talking about retirement after his contract. He's had a bad year this year. The Cubs have had a bad year this year. And giving up 5 home runs and getting ejected. It's tough, but it doesn't mean you can just walk out on your team and retire. But going into details about the disqualified list, the Zambrano's agent, lawyer, has been talking to Jim Henry about trying to shorten that time period because of the fact that Zambrano, they're trying to use this as leverage because Zambrano was ejected. So because he was ejected, it allows him to quit on his team because he's more frustrated or whatever it is. But sorry about the gun, but that's pretty much the only argument that they have, because they understand how ludicrous it is that what he did. I don't even know what he was thinking, and I don't think anyone knows what he was thinking. That's Zambrano going on the disqualified list. 30 days, no play, no pay, and I don't think the Cubs are gonna miss him. I actually like that he's on the disqualified list for 30 days. I think it's good for Casey Coleman, good for the Cubs, good for the clubhouse and all that. So, bad for Carlos Zambrano, though. Just a bad few weeks for the Carlos Zambrano. But thanks for watching. Don't be talking 1, 2, 3.